All right, good afternoon. Welcome back here to Trader Minute. Great to have you aboard. I want to show you a chart here, and this chart is the weekly or the entire week of S&P futures from when they opened on Sunday to where they sit now. And basically here, you can kind of see there was a rally Friday afternoon. And then Sunday, S&P futures open, and they opened right here around 27.77. And right now, they sit here at 27.84. There has been a 7-point appreciation this week in S&P futures. We have seen a push higher in futures, but this high was not made during market hours. The high today was made during market hours. The low that we saw yesterday was made during market hours, and that kind of corresponded to what we saw on Tuesday. But overall, the range on the market for the week is not very much either, right? Why do I bring this up? Well, I bring this up because it seems like every article I turn and look at out there in the market right now talks about this week as being this great grand bullish, bulls, boom, boom, boom. And when we look at the actual metrics and data, yes, the metrics are controlled by the bulls, but we haven't seen big upside appreciation. Now, a few stocks, yeah, they've moved on higher. A few stocks, yeah, they've moved on lower. But most stocks on the week, relatively unchanged and or up just slightly, overall. And that is what the environment this week has been. And, that is one that can be, can be frustrating depending on what you're in, can be great depending on what you're in, but it is what the environment is. And I continue to kind of have this bearish bias, and one of the big reasons is because I don't think the upside from this point in time is all that great. Sure, if we had the last 6 weeks, great. Yes, the upside is boom, right? But from a trading standpoint, it's now, next week, the week after, and what are some of the expectations? And I continue to suspect that the upside overall is limited for the market, and the downside is a higher risk than what it has been in a long time. But while that risk is there, there's no confirmation or no signal yet that, the Bears are taking control, or the Bears have, wrestled this, that, or the other. So far the Bulls still have them, back on their butts and, sitting there in hibernation. So, anyway, I wanted to show that here for the week on the market. Now, if we go and we look at something like small caps, right, and we look at small caps, and I don't have small cap futures up, so let's just go compare small caps from where they closed on Friday, to where they are now, right? You can see they closed right here, 156.20 on the Russell. It's at 157.60 right now. So small caps are up 1% on the week, right? So they've had a 1% gain. The NASDAQ, so small caps have outperformed the S&P here on the week. The NASDAQ here, where it closed on Friday, dead flat, just dead flat. Zero gain loss there on the week. And then the Dow, and let's see if, here we go. Dow futures, I'll take them from Sunday, and you can see that the Dow dead flat here on the week, right? With similar ups and downs to the S&P, but let's face it, the difference between the high and the low here this week is rather small, right? Now, does this favor the bulls or the bears going forward, right? Well, bull markets are flat markets. Bull markets are the types of markets you look at, 6 weeks later and go, wow, the market just kind of went up 0.1% every day for 6 weeks, on average. So there's definitely a bull market type of element, right? Bear markets have the big chops, the big ups, the big downs, and we're not seeing that. Yes, I know we have had a little bit, but we're not seeing that kind of big up, big down, that is challenge. Right now, I'm in some FedEx puts. This week on Tuesday, I was bumped out of my XLY. I just had to take it, with where it was. It had hit my risk tolerance and a little bit further. It went a little bit beyond where I was looking to possibly take it. But you can see it's slightly up here since. But, this is still something I think can have a turn, but I need to see a sign that it's ready to turn. And so far it's not. It's kind of doing what the market is doing. Just that slow, steady, type of grind. It has been lifted by, some consumer names out there this week. The Starbucks, the Disneys of the world that, really kind of helped it along here. So I was bumped out, took a loss there to start the challenge, first challenge trade. I hate taking a loss on the first challenge trade, but hey. And then, just not a whole lot on Wednesday that I was too excited about, looking at Tuesday, Wednesday. Just really no real confirmation. And then yesterday, started to see some signals come in. Got a signal on Twitter, so I ran with a position on Twitter. A put position here on Twitter, and then got a signal on FedEx and ran with a put position on FedEx. Now, this morning, FedEx was down about $6, and Twitter was up about 35 cents, 40 cents. And I jumped on video. I decided to take both of them. Between the two of them, ended with a net gain, but did decide to get back into FedEx here after the stock rallied about $3.50, almost $4 off of its lows. I decided to get back in here to it. It wasn't so much a technical re-entry or anything like that. It was kind of watching the drop, watching the pop, and going, okay, this is a spot where at least I can use yesterday's close as a stop point and have a decent risk reward. So stepped in. I will run with my FedEx into the close, and using basically Thursday's closing prices, as kind of a stopping area. It's ideally we won't see it get up to there, but if it does start to creep up, I may pull it off before it gets there. We'll see how things transpire next week, and it'll be kind of fluid there with it. I have plenty of cash for another position, and I've debated a few here this afternoon. Halliburton puts, big fan, very big fan. Halliburton puts. This is one of those where on Wednesday got a kind of a bullish signal. Decided to kind of wait to Thursday, see what happens. The breakout didn't materialize and actually broke down. Generally, when that happens, there's a lot of room to the downside there with it. But do I want how aggressive do I want to get with puts? With a Halliburton, with how they're priced, I've decided I'm not going to get too aggressive right there. I'll kind of wait. I've decided to kind of be a little patient with Capital One, and it's kind of made the move here, and the option spreads kind of kept me out of it yesterday, but looking at it and the pricing right here right now, I'm not willing to go jump into it. Visa, MasterCard doing quite the opposite of Capital One here today, as they gapped up, and we keep in mind Visa, MasterCard, they're about transactions. Capital One is about holding the debt, and so it's they're kind of two different ball games. They can diverge quite a bit, but both Visa, MasterCard, with some nice moves. But a lot of these stocks today that have some nice moves, man, if they get erased early next week, they're in some trouble, right? They're in some trouble, and even the Apples of the world. And so while I don't have any sort of downside signal coming in, with these names, they're definitely not far away from being there. Now, as far as some upside, is there anything that, I'm too eager to go or, really eager? I said, man, I really got to get in. GM, I went and priced that out, but, hey, given my challenge track record with GM, I'm not going to go near it. But maybe I should send out an order, or maybe I should go buy the calls and send out the order for the puts, or vice versa. And that way I'll lose, but everyone else will gain big. But anyway, this type of little mini consolidation, up near the high, do we see that break higher? I went and priced out some CSX calls, on this little kind of mini consolidation here, but just nothing that was overly compelling. Need a lot of upside to pay the calls off in any kind of decent way, and with kind of my thought process that the upside is fairly limited. It's probably more likely that we go up than down. But it's one where I'll continue to kind of wait things out, be a little patient there, and grab some things that I don't think are very market weighted, overall. Yes, FedEx is market weighted, but it definitely will move, with a mind of its own, there overall. I've had my eye on J&J here today. This is one where, I was looking at some of the options yesterday, decided not to go after it. You get a little downside action if it doesn't materialize and starts to pop higher. Generally, there's further upside. And, the options on it aren't too terrible. And this is one that could definitely have some, some further move to the upside, but you go look at J&J's options for next week. These 136s, you get a $2 move in J&J, they're going to pay off in a big way. So you don't need much of a move, just a move to that upper Bollinger Band, and they can pay off very, very nicely. But it's not something where I think there's a good risk level, right? You could say, well, 135, but by the time you get there, your option is going to be pretty much zero anyway. So not something that's very compelling for me to want to go enter, right here at this time. So bottom line, I'm going to go in this weekend with FedEx and with cash, and kind of see what Monday morning brings, and where some of the gaps are. There with that, I've put some of the ongoing saga of the U.S., China trade talks, trade relations stuff, into the feed. CNBC has been doing a lot of reporting on that as well. So it's all, it's all there. It's all, known. Bottom line, it doesn't look like anything has changed. Doesn't look like anything has changed. And, we saw the news and the reports come out, and, the market bumped up a little bit. In fact, let me pull it up here on the 1 minute. Let's go S&P. But basically, we start getting the news, and the market bumps up, starts to drifts up about 3 points, and then just starts to drift on down, right? Just starts to drift on a little lower. It gives up those 3 points, and then, we break this 2788 level, and you can see the volumes that came in. And, a lot of times you go, well, is this news? Well, the news had already come out. This really kind of looked like just a little technical break that we'll tend to see when a news event price action is erased. And so we had the news event price action erased and the break. We're not talking about big magnitudes here. I mean, this is 3 points up, 3 points down, and a 5-6 point break. We're just talking about pretty small. You gotta zoom into your chart type of action to see, and it got a little bit of bump as the algorithms kicked in on it, but it definitely doesn't have a lot of significance as to what it means about the future and everything else. We don't see the market metrics or anything really shifting here with that. All right, thanks for hopping on. Have yourselves a fantastic weekend. I'll be back with you here Monday morning. We'll talk to you then. Take care.